Hey there, and welcome back to day 25 of my 100-day challenge. We are a quarter of the way through and we are still dropping gems on a daily basis. So thank y'all for being here with me. If you don't know, my name is Dayana and I help small business owners and entrepreneurs to be able to build and scale their businesses through building high-performing systems and high-performing teams, as well as automating their systems and processes. So let's get into it. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the things that I wish that I knew before I hired my first team member. And I know hiring your first team member can be super exciting, but also a little bit daunting because you are bringing on a whole new person. And it might sound like this pie in the sky, this amazing idea, things of that nature. But then when you actually get the person in, you realize, oh, wow, I'm responsible for another human being. I'm responsible for what they do on a daily basis. I have to give this person direction. And so if you are not setting yourself up for success, it's going to be really hard for them to meet your expectations and to be able to live up to what it is that you're hiring them for. So we're going to go over 5 different things on how you can make sure that you are doing these things to make sure you're hiring the right team member as well as taking care of yourself. And some of the things that I wish that I knew before I hired my first team member. So first and foremost is going to be hiring too late versus hiring too early. And you might think hiring too early, you're like, okay, that's not as bad because at least when you ramp up, you have the help. Or whenever you are too late, it's like, okay, well, at least we have the funds for it. Well, hiring too late or too early, it's really important to be intentional on the timing, because if you're too late, then that means that you might be burnt out. If you're too early, it might cause some confusion. So for instance, I had a friend who I absolutely love and adore, and we were about to start a podcast together. And she brought me on, it was probably a little bit too early. And so we were kind of still in ideation stages and things like that. And she thought she knew what she wanted at that time. Well, then we realized that it was just creating way too much confusion for us to be together on that, because it was still in the idea stage and she had some things that she needed to work out and work through for what she wanted the brand to look like, and I was going to be there to kind of help carry it out. And so it caused a lot of confusion, and we ended up not doing it because it was just very confusing because it was way too early in the process to bring someone on. That would be an instance where she probably should have done it herself to start out with and then brought me on as like a co-host or whatever later on in the process. An example of being of being too late is I'm doing all these things by myself and I am just taking everything that I possibly can because I don't want to hire someone else. It's going to take training, it's going to take time, it's going to take money, different resources that I do not want to take the time to give up. And so by this point, I'm working over 80 hours a week. And by this time I bring someone on, I have very minimal to give them because I'm just so exhausted and burnt out from pushing myself so hard. And so you want to try to find that happy medium of when is it the right time? You want it to be somewhat to where it's starting to overwhelm you, but then you also have some standard operating procedures in place so that way there's clear systems whenever the new person is brought on. Which brings me to my next point. Do not hire for help. You want to hire for the result. And when you're hiring for the result, that means you need to know what you're actually tracking. You need to know your key performance indicators, so your KPIs, and what's important for the organization to be tracking to get it to the next level that you want it to be at. So you don't want to say that, oh, I need someone to help me with answering emails. No, what is the specific result that you want to happen? I want all of my emails to be answered within 24 business hours to increase our revenue by 20%. That is something that is going to be something that can be tracked versus, oh, I just need someone to help me with my emails. Okay, anyone can help you with your emails. You can hire a virtual assistant for literally like $400 a month to be able to help you full time with just answering your emails. But what is that result, or what is the result of someone answering your emails going to give you, and how is it going to affect your bottom dollar? So that's why you want to make sure that you are hiring for the result and not just for the help, and being intentional with that. The next part is you cannot outsource chaos. So messy systems just get magnified whenever you bring other people on. And an instance for this is one of the companies I used to work for. and help to scale, we hired extremely quickly, and our systems were not in place before I took over the operations. And so the systems were kind of just all over the place. We thought, okay, we'll just hire people, they'll help to get the systems in place. No, it got so much more messy so quickly because we had extra minds, extra bodies in there to try to work through the systems that were not already in place. So then it just made it even more confusing, and it magnified all the different holes that we had within our process, which is great for the holes to be magnified, but it is a lot more difficult to button up when you actually start adding more people into the mix of your organization. And again, having basic SOPs will help to minimize you having to have those messy systems. SOPs are so foundational. I know I did a video on it, and we'll be doing videos on it as well, going through how to create your standard operating procedure, but that's another video, another show for another day. So the fourth is the emotional side of leadership. No one told me before hiring my first team member how much it would impact me mentally and emotionally, because again, you have another person that you're responsible for. I'm not yet a mother, but I can guess that this is probably something of what mothers might feel, probably a little bit more, because you're responsible for another human being. You're responsible for their livelihood, you're responsible for even their family, because direction that you give them is going to determine the success that they have within the organization, and will ultimately be a reflection of you. Because if that person is not living up to what is necessary, then they may not be with the company for very long, and that's going to be hard for you to be able to digest as well. And so you want to pour everything that you can into your team members to make sure that they are successful, especially your new hire. And you might feel guilty at first for delegating. Do not feel guilty. I'm not saying to dump your work onto the other person. Do not dump, because that's not fair for the other person. But it is okay to delegate and say, hey, this is the task at hand that I need you to take care of. This is the timeline that we're working with. Please let me know, kind of a status update on yada yada date, and then the overall project will be due on whatever that date is. So set those guidelines and those expectations, but do not feel guilty for delegating. That is the purpose of hiring a team member, is to be able to delegate some of the less important tasks, or I won't even say less important, but some of the more tedious tasks you can delegate to someone else. That way you can focus on more revenue generating activities, is what I like to call them. You may also have a fear of being too bossy. I would say kill people with kindness. So if you think you're being too bossy, you might be being too bossy. Always say please, always say thank you. Don't just say, hey, I need you to do this, I need you to do that. Everyone has feelings, and it's important to not internalize it, but to be cognizant of it, so that way you're aware of what the other person could be feeling and being sensitive and empathetic to those emotions. And then lastly, clarity equals kindness for everyone. The more clear you are in what it is that you expect from other people, and the more clear you are and transparent with your communication, the kinder the overall environment is going to be, and the more positive work culture you're going to have, because everyone's on the same page, everyone knows what's going on, and that is the key to having a successful and positive company culture. And then last but certainly not least is number 5, the value of onboarding and communication. So setting those expectations ahead of time when you're hiring your first hire is going to set you up and set the other person up for success. Set those expectations of what exactly you want them to be doing on a regular basis. Set the expectation on how often you want how you want them to communicate with you, rather that's email, text message, phone calls, rather that's an in-person meeting once a week, the timeline in which you want emails answered from clients or emails answered internally, how you want projects to be carried out, the stipulations and kind of checklists that they need to follow whenever they are working with the client or working internally. And that is going to come from those standard operating procedures. But setting those expectations early will overall set everyone else up for success. And that is the importance of having onboarding. Some simple things that you can implement into your onboarding system is having it in a database, having it in, say, ClickUp or Notion or some type of knowledge base where all of the information can be housed in one area. and people can always go back and reference it at any time. That's something that's extremely helpful. Having a training that shows what your company culture, or not your company culture, but your company core values and your mission and vision statement, that will help to set the expectations that you all want to carry yourselves with excellence and with grace and tact, and that anytime you're communicating with a client, you are trying to give them the absolute best customer service that you possibly can. One of the things that one of the organizations I worked with was, we wanted to give our clients and show them Black excellence. And that's something that was just super important to the founder of the organization, and it was ingrained within the organization as a whole, and something that I absolutely loved. But just being able to carry those things forward, setting that expectation at the get-go and in the onboarding process will help, so that way all the expectations that you have are met, the expectations of the other person are met, and you all can have transparent and open and honest communication with one another to be able to be a cohesive unit, especially in the beginning, because there's only going to be two of you all. It's only going to be you and your new hire. So you want to make sure that it's going to be the most collaborative and cohesive pair that you have until you end up expanding your team. So again, I hope these were helpful. All the things that I wish that I knew. Of course, there's tons of other things that I wish that I knew before I hired my first team member, but these are the 5 top things that I kind of had and wanted to share with you all. So if you all felt like this was helpful, please subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow.